Hi everyone, it is the end of the year, which means it's time for another recap. This is really just a personal diary for myself. Don't expect to learn much while you watch this. The reason why I record this is really for myself to watch in many, many years in the future and kind of understand what I was up to in 2023 and how I was feeling about things. So I'm going to go over some of the big things that happened to me in 2023, and then I will talk about the content I produce and this design that, and then also future plans for the channel and also myself. So I've got a list of things that I want to talk about, and these are in no particular order. These are just some big things that I decided to do or that happened to me in 2023. So first that I've got in the list is stretching. I've tried to make a big effort on improving my flexibility, and this year I've put in a lot of work and I do feel that I am making some progress, which is good. I'm still nowhere near doing some of the things that I want to do, which is like a forward fold, for instance, and be able to get my head in between my legs. And the big one would be to get into a seated squat position with my heels on the ground. That will be my holy grail of flexibility if I can reach that, because I am nowhere near to do that. I've got very, very bad hip flexibility, and I think that that has played a part with the back issues that I've had from pretty much about the age of 18. So yeah, this year I've really tried to put a lot of effort into stretching, really focusing much more on flexibility and mobility as opposed to strength. I'm someone that does work out quite a lot. I go to the gym maybe 3 or 4 times a week, and generally I would do some weightlifting, a lot of calisthenics, a lot of body weight stuff. But really this year I've kind of switched it over to doing more stuff around, I guess, gymnastics, stuff around yoga, kind of like balance work as well. And I feel much better focusing on those things as opposed to just being strong. I mean, I've been strong before. I'm less strong now, but I'm more flexible, and I'm much happier in being able to do day-to-day things compared to when I was not much stronger, I was stronger and I was less flexible. And that kind of goes into the next thing I'm going to talk about, which has been arguably the biggest change for me in the last 10 years for my body, has been back pain reduction. I injured my back when I was 18. Supposedly I partially herniated my disc. I don't actually know how they was able to come to that conclusion because I didn't have any scans or anything like that, but I kind of trusted their opinion. For the last 10, 15 years, I've had back issues where I would twinge my back, and basically, doing things like squatting and deadlifting, or even just like picking things up or laying at a certain angle, my back would seize up, and it would maybe happen, I'm not sure, maybe 3 or 4 times a year, but it would be really, really painful. I mean, I'd be laying on the sofa for a good 3 to 4 days, not really being able to do much, just being in agony. I couldn't even stand up straight. Walking up the stairs, for instance, I'd be crawling my way up the stairs. So I'm also someone that, suffers severely with social anxiety. So going to see someone about this would not have been something that I wanted to do. My partner, Lakshmi, she basically convinced me to just, go and see a specialist, go and see a physio. I did do some physio a few years back, and it did help, but I didn't like the fact that I didn't really get a conclusive answer of this is what is happening to you and this is what you need to do to fix it. I just kind of got some, something's tight and maybe you need to do some of these stretches and it might help. So I paid a little bit extra money to see someone in London who is very specialised in back pain, and she's a physio, and she is absolutely amazing. I did 2 sessions with her, and I think even just after the first session, I'd go as far as saying it has changed my life. She basically come to the conclusion that there's actually nothing wrong with my back, probably don't have a herniated disc or anything like that. I just have, over time, built up this overly sensitive nerve region in my back. Someone having anxiety and overthinking things, that can play a huge role in your central nervous system, and kind of having these flare-ups with the nerve endings in specific parts of your body. And I was just so scared and cautious that when I get this back pain, when I would pick up something and I would get a seized back, I'm thinking that a disc is popping out of my back. I'm so scared of it. I went there, when I did my back, my back was seized up. I went to see her. She said, you know, there's nothing wrong with your back. You just need to stretch it out. And she gave me one exercise to do then and there, which was a Jefferson curl, which is you basically stand up on a platform, you hold a weight and you just bend down with it. And I remember saying to her, like, are you sure I can do this? Because I'm scared that my back is going to pop out. She's like, just do it. Don't worry about it. Did it. I held the stretch. I breathed for a few minutes and it started to feel a little bit better. And it was mind blowing because for like 10, 15 years, I've been thinking that my back is this way when it really wasn't. So she gave me a few specific exercises and she just said, like, don't be scared of it. Like, you know, your back should be able to bend. It shouldn't be this rigid thing. I've kind of taken that philosophy with all of the flexibility stuff that I've been doing this year, you know, really focusing on strengthening my hips, my glutes, my lower back, and stretching it as well. My back is, yeah, just completely different now. I don't have back issues. I'd say my back is strong and I feel much more confident in doing things. And I mean, just like even this week, I had to move 2 tons of timber that got delivered to my house and I moved it twice in one day. So I moved 4 tons of timber, bending down, picking it up, carrying it and walking with it. Before I saw the physio in London, pretty sure I would have done my back in definitely, and I would have probably given up halfway through and just thought, God, I need to rest. My back seized up. You know, I can do just things like that now and my back is completely fine. So that has been definitely the biggest change this year and last year, and hopefully it will continue like that to the point, yeah, where I can just pretty much confidently say now, I don't have back problems. There is nothing wrong with my back. So if you're someone that is suffering with some sort of injury, and also you suffer with anxiety and, you know, kind of seeing people, having to see doctors and specialists and these type of things is very, very daunting for you. Yeah, I would say just try and push yourself and do it, because I really do wish that I saw a specialist and I just actually, you know, took the effort to go and investigate it a little bit more, because I wasted months of my life laying on a sofa thinking I've got a bad back when it really actually wasn't the case. And also I think about, you know, someone that likes to keep fit, you know, I like to be strong and flexible. So many times I, you know, took 2 steps forward and 1 step back, you know, not doing any exercise for like a month after I did my back in. If I had like an episode where I had a seizure, you know, I'd be on the sofa for a week doing nothing, and then afterwards I'd be slowly easing myself back into exercise because I'm thinking I've got this, you know, bad back injury. Yeah, now it's just like kind of a little bit annoying, but also obviously I'm just really, really happy that it is gone, basically. Another big thing that I finally got to tick off this year was welding. I managed to get a second-hand welder, I got PPE, invested quite a lot of money in all of that stuff, and I've done a few projects on it. Haven't really done anything else at the moment because during winter time I don't have any space to do it indoors, and it's obviously wet outside and windy, and using gas outside, it just doesn't really work too well. So once I build the shed, I will be doing more welding projects and I will be getting more into metalwork, which I'm really excited about. But it was really nice to kind of like finally get to experience doing welding, because I've been watching so many YouTube videos, so many projects that use kind of like metalworking and welding. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, if you're someone that likes to do the stuff that you see on this channel and you're kind of wondering about whether to get into welding, as long as you are careful, as long as you've got the right PPE, it's actually very, very simple. It is literally like using a glue gun. If you've got something like a MIG welder, you know, you just can hook up some gas. You can even just get some welding wire that has flux built into it. So you don't even need the gas. And you just pull a trigger and you can just kind of glue things together. It's just really cool. But that was one tool investment I made this year. But yeah, there have been many more tool investments this year. After COVID, things were a little bit quiet of my work. I didn't have as much disposable income a few years back because, you know, I work on various different platforms, freelancer platforms and those type of things. Income comes and goes basically. You don't really have much control of it. It really does depend on, you know, you looking for work or people coming to you and requesting you to work on projects. And during COVID, things got a little bit quiet, so I had to kind of rein back in my spending on this design that. This year has been much better. And also I've kind of decided to, while I'm young, to invest in tools and to invest into my businesses, which, you know, this YouTube channel kind of At the moment, it's not a huge business. It's not a huge money maker for me. It is definitely I'm definitely not in the green at the moment with the amount I spent on these projects, but I really do love doing YouTube. I really do love working on projects, and I think it's something I can see myself doing for the rest of my life. And therefore, I should invest in it. And I think that any money that I earn, I should invest back into these things I do, these projects and these channels. And really, that's the only way that you can make things grow. And I kind of took a leaf out of like Mr. B. So I remember watching some random YouTube short clips of him, and he's talking about he doesn't really make any money at all, even still, from his channels, because he literally puts 99% of the income he receives back into his channel. And I thought that, I should probably do that. I am young, I'm earning money, I can cover my bills now, which is really good. And I do have disposable income left. Previous years, I would have put maybe all of it into savings. The last few years, I've maybe eased back a little bit on what I was putting into my savings so that then I can invest into these things. Yeah, this year I've definitely invested in a lot of tools, and hopefully once I get the shed built, then I can move all those tools into there, and I can hopefully just work on more interesting projects basically. And also with that kind of, I guess, change in thought that, I want to invest in this channel. I don't just want to kind of do it as a hobby. I want to invest in it, and I do want to grow it. I've also kind of come to the conclusion that I should change my house to how I want it to be to help me to grow this, channel and to, make this hobby more fun. So my partner and I, we bought this house a few years now. It's probably been about 6 or 7 years ago. We've kind of left it as is. And basically, I take up 99% of the space in this house. I mean, this should be the master bedroom. This is my studio. I've got bits and pieces downstairs in the living room. I've got a utility room, which is just another little workshop for myself. But basically, I've tried to keep things in the house as they were and just kind of like store my things around it. And I guess that I did that because I don't really want to ruin the house. I don't want it to not look like a normal house, if that makes sense. And also I was kind of thinking, if we ever sell the house, I don't want it to be like just a big workshop, because that's not going to look very good when it comes to selling a house. But this year, after talking to Lakshmi and just deciding that I'm probably going to be in this house for the rest of my life, I love where I live and I love this house. And we might as well make it a space that is right for us. Just like little things, like in the living room, we put a pull-up bar and we've got loads of kettlebells and weights there. A living room for me and Lax isn't really somewhere we just sit down and watch TV. We do that sometimes, but we're people who like to be active. And I'd much rather have a living room that was, something that I can, do handstands, or maybe we could like put a climbing wall in the living room so we can do bouldering and those type of things. And the same goes for like this bedroom. I just need to accept that it's not a bedroom anymore. It is my workshop, and I should really change it to help me work more efficiently. And storage is a huge part of that. Like behind me here, I've got inbuilt wardrobes, which are great. They look really nice, and you can close the door and it just hides all of the crap. But honestly, there's so much wasted space in those inbuilt wardrobes, and it's really just not how I would have a wall dedicated to my work. And just like little things like shelving, for instance. Yeah, it's good for putting books and that, but is it shelving that is right to hold a 3D printing farm on? No, it's probably not. And so therefore, like this year, we've kind of tweaked the house a little bit to be much more accommodating to the things that we want to do. But once I do get the shed built, this is going to be like a theme going here. Once I get the shed built, then I can start doing bigger projects. I can't build custom racking. I can't build custom cabinets at the moment because I really don't have the space and the machinery to do that type of woodworking. But yeah, that is kind of the aim basically. Once the shed is built, then I'm really going to work on just changing like this room downstairs to just being kind of like exactly how I want it. Yeah, I'm someone that does hobbies. I'm someone that does these projects. I'm a maker, I'm a designer. So really my house should reflect that. And that's going to be hopefully a shift, and hopefully it will still look okay. It won't look terrible, but yeah, I'm hoping that the house can be much more efficient and we've got much better storage basically. So the other thing that I've wrote down here is the shed, and that has been the biggest project that I have started this year. I'm building out in the back of my garden a 5 meter by 3 meter shed, and I also this year I got planning permission to take it above the 2.5 meter limit. I put in a request to make it 2.7 meters. I really wish I'd maybe just went for something like 3 meters or 3.5. Yeah, I don't know the limit that you can really go with planning permission. I just thought I'd just try and get a little bit more than that. But with planning permission in the UK, you've got 2.5 meters, but that's from ground level. And once you raise a shed up, if you've got it on like concrete bearers or whatever, that 2.5 meter does start to become quite small. And for someone that's like me, I'm 192 or 193 centimeters. I'm close to 2 meters. I'm someone that hits my head on a lot of things because like the doorways are pretty small in this house. So I'm glad that I got those extra 20 centimeters. They will make all the difference. And it's going to be a big workshop. I'm building it all out of timber. And just this week, I have finished the foundations part of it, which I'm really happy about. I've extended the concrete base and I have installed concrete lintels, which are going to be essentially the bearers that the shed sits on. This week, I've just had a huge delivery of timber that was, backbreaking work to move it all into the house and then move it into my garden. But I'm pretty much good to go to start actually doing the framing for the floor, and I can start building the walls. Progress has kind of sped up a little bit in the last few weeks, which is great, but that's the big project this year, and I'm guessing that I'll probably have it finished next year. I'm not sure when exactly because there's probably a lot to do with the internals, but to just get the actual, the shell of the shed built, I'm guessing I'll probably have that done by spring. But that's going to be really cool because, then I've got like a dedicated space for all of the dirty work that I can do, the woodworking, the metalworking, milling, lathes, I want to kind of get into all of that stuff. It's going to be, a lot of fun, definitely. This year, I've also taken PPE more seriously. I was always someone that was very, very careful with PPE, but I mean, only this week I got steel toe cap shoes. So I obviously weren't taking it that seriously because I should have been wearing them many years ago while I was doing all of this type of DIY stuff. This year I had some near misses. Twice something very, very heavy dropped just next to my toe and it would have broken my toe, definitely. And also this year I've had quite a few injuries. A knee injury, I'm always scraping my body, bashing it into banisters and things. I had a very, very bad head injury a few weeks ago. I basically bashed it into a light stand that I bought. I actually sent back because it was just too big. But I had a pretty bad bump on my head, and then I'm pretty sure I had some sort of concussion because I lost my appetite, and I'm someone that never loses their appetite. I absolutely love to eat. I had a lot of nausea for like a few weeks. When I get those type of head injuries and I'm getting like concussion symptoms, it's really, really annoying. You shouldn't be banging your head like that. So I'm trying to take PPE more seriously. Now, when I'm doing work, I'm just trying to wear like a hat, basically a bobble hat. I should really just have a hard hat. That would be probably the best thing to do. But just buying things like overalls with knee pads in them, buying steel toe cap shoes, getting an air quality monitor. Those little things are just hopefully helping me to live longer and allowing me to do this type of work for longer. But it was a little bit of an investment. I mean, steel toe cap shoes were £90, but you can't really put a price on these type of things. So I've just decided to just invest as much as possible in doing things safely and getting good tools as well. I think investing in good tools helps with that. Other tool investments this year that I've made as well has been with my camera rig. I showed it in the previous video. I invested in a new tripod head, a new tripod, camera cage, I've got a V-mount battery, I've got a wireless follow focus system, and I think that's pretty much it. I mean, that was a good £1,500, a lot of money to spend, but definitely worth it. I mean, the video head that I was using previously, I mean, this thing is just so much better in every single way, and it's just going to make me a more efficient YouTuber, basically. And the reason why I kind of did this is because this year I did have a few like brands reaching out to me to make videos for their products and do reviews. So I wanted to try and find a way that I could, make all this content a bit quicker. And I found myself that just these little things like setting up the tripod, setting up the shots and those type of things, it was annoying with the way that I had it. So that's why I've just decided to invest the money, get something, you buy it once, probably gonna last you the rest of your life. Also, lighting. I've never really been that happy with the way that my videos look. And I think light is a huge part of that. I think lenses and lighting is really, really important. So I bought this lens that I'm shooting with now. It is a 7 Artisan 35mm cinema lens. It's like the Spectrum line, I think. And also I've got just above me here making this blue light is a Aperture Amaran. This is the f22x. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this because it's like £700 and I'm not sure if you can hear the fan noise. It's going to be interesting to see if it gets picked up in the mic, but to me it's pretty loud. It's much louder than the fans in these two Godox lights that I've got just in front of me here, which is, I think it shouldn't be that loud, to be honest with you. If you're paying £700 for a light, it's by far the most expensive light that I've bought. It's really nice, but that fan noise is, could be a deal breaker for me. So I really did like the overhead lighting shots, especially for B-roll. And the way that I was doing it previously, I had this massive Godox light box, and trying to hang that over on an overhead shot was just impossible because it was just so heavy. It was so big. I don't have a lot of ceiling space, so I couldn't even fit it in with the shots. So that's why I just thought, you know what, just invest in some good lighting. That f22 is so nice and light and compact, and I think that I'm gonna invest more in lighting. I think maybe going with like an overhead mounted system as well will probably make things 10 times easier, so I don't have to deal with tripods in this small room. Those little things just make shooting just more cumbersome. I'm definitely going to be investing more in my like studio lighting setup, because these Godox lights, they're good, good light output, but just how they're set up at the moment, getting the tripods out, getting the light boxes, these huge big light boxes, I don't really like doing it. And I think that I could definitely make it more efficient. And I think the flat LED panels, they're probably the way to go, but they are very, very expensive. That's the problem. So that's probably going to be another investment next year. This year I managed to complete the holy trinity of maker tools. You got 3D printing, CNC, and laser engraving. And this year I got into laser engraving, and as you can see behind me, I've got a few laser machines that I'm reviewing here. I think for someone like me who builds functional things and projects, I don't really like just making stuff, just ornamental stuff. It's really not for me. I'm usually going to be making it out of thicker wood. I'm usually going to be working with 18 or 12mm plywood. Anything under 20 watt to cut out 18mm plywood is basically impossible. I'd much rather work on the CNC to cut out things out of wood with that. But I do feel that in the next few years, there probably will be more progress with that. You've got 40 watt machines now for laser diodes, which I'm hoping I can get hold of one to review, because, the 20 watt, that is workable. You can cut out 6 to 9mm plywood at a relatively good speed. And I think I could use it for projects. 40 watt, I think you could probably do 6 and 9mm plywood, obviously, hopefully double as quick, which would then be faster than my CNC. And then I probably would be using it more. But yeah, it was really cool to finally get to try out laser engravers, and it's just really cool to see, this like micro manufacturing, this technology progressing. I've been following it for a few years now, obviously through This Design That and the channel. Yeah, it's really exciting, like 3D printing, CNC machines and laser engraving. They're all improving at such a rapid pace. The features are becoming even better. The power of the machines is becoming even better. Yeah, it's just really exciting to see where this is going to go. A great thing for this channel this year was that I got a channel sponsor, which is PCBWay. They've been absolutely amazing, and they pay me to have a sponsorship message in the videos. So that's really cool, because it kind of adds a little bit more consistent income into the channel. And obviously it's a nice boost in income in the channel. So I know you probably get annoyed with me doing the PCBWay ads, and you probably see a lot of these type of ads, Squarespace and all of these things. on videos, but just bear with us as creators. A lot of us would like to make this an income and like to probably do it full-time or part-time, and you just need to realize that we need to earn an income from this. Basically, the content isn't going to be created for free. It does take a lot of time, effort and resources to make the content. So just try to think next time when you hear me doing a PCBWay sponsorship, just see it as I'm getting paid for that. That is a benefit to me and this channel to help it keep on growing. It's really cool to get channel sponsorships. And also another thing that has happened this year with the channel is that I think because I finally hit 10,000 subscribers, I found that I started to get many more opportunities for doing product reviews. And you've probably seen that in the last month or so with the amount of laser engravers that I've been reviewing. I've been sent all of those laser engravers to do an impartial review. They don't have any say over what I'm going to be reviewing. But yeah, that's been really cool. And I think that it's probably because I got over 10,000. But that has been a huge change because like previous years, I would never get any sort of message. And then it was like this Christmas leading up to it, I had like 7 requests from companies asking me to do reviews, and obviously I'm not going to turn it down because I get to try out loads of cool tools, especially laser engravers, because I haven't had that much exposure to them previously, so it was a really nice surprise. And yeah, hopefully in the following years, as the channel continues to grow, hopefully I'll get bigger and better opportunities to review machines as well. But it's definitely been an uplifting experience because I've been slogging away at YouTube for many, many years now. And I know that I'm incredibly niche and a lot of my video content doesn't really perform very well. I'm talking like hundreds of views here. And things that take me, weeks and months to produce, I get like, just like a few hundred views. It does kind of bother me. I would obviously like more views because then that means more income that I can then invest into the channel. But yeah, I appreciate that I'm a very, very niche channel. I'm kind of like a mixture of everything. And I know that the channel could probably be much bigger, much more successful if I just made it a laser engraver channel, or if I just made it a 3D printing channel. But I'm someone that has so many hobbies and so many different ideas that I'm never going to do that. This design now is always just going to be an amalgamation of all of the stuff that I'm interested in and want to share with people. So it is a bit of a slog, but yeah, it's been really cool this year to get my first glimpse of feeling like a YouTuber. Getting brands reaching out to you and recognizing that you have an audience and you make good content. That's been a very, very nice experience. And hopefully, if I keep on with this, I will be a full-time YouTuber. I'm not sure if I'd like to be a full-time YouTuber because, as I said, there are many other things that I like to do in my life. But if it could make up a large chunk of my life, I think I'd be pretty happy with that. So let's go through some of the content that I did this year. The Voron upgrades was really good because that has made it into a 3D printer now that is just so good. I really do love the Voron touchscreen and the Nevermore, and also upgrading to CHT nozzles. It just makes it a workhorse. I haven't had any problems with that printer whatsoever. And one that was actually very popular, I just chucked this together very quickly, was the laser enclosure build. I'm so glad I built that. And yeah, after just literally cutting once on that original laser that I got, the Auto LM3, I realized that I needed an enclosure and I needed to get extraction. And yeah, I think that everyone using a laser engraver should use an enclosure. Very, very simple to build. It is a little bit big and cumbersome, and this room, it is running out of space, and that bloody laser enclosure, the only problem with it is that it is just a solid box. I can't fold it and put it away. It's quite a large thing, so I can't really store it anywhere. So it is a little bit annoying, but as I said, hopefully I'm going to be changing this room to be a dedicated workshop, and I will have a dedicated section for laser engraving, a dedicated section for 3D printing, for instance. But at the moment, yeah, it's a little bit annoying because it is just sat on the floor and I've got nowhere to put it. But it does a very good job of getting rid of the fumes. Another project which was a lot of fun to do, and it's something I've been thinking about doing for years, and then I saw that this person had basically done what I wanted to do, and that was the DIY roller bras for printmaking. They are very, very expensive to buy, big ones basically. So it was amazing that you can really just make any size you want using polyurethane rubber. I've kind of abandoned that project. I've made a few and I do want to make some big ones with the idea of maybe sending them, because I think that I've got the process about right now where I can make them hopefully well. And I think that once I get the shed, I'll be able to make it a little bit more nicer, you know, doing like woodwork and those type of things. But that is definitely something that I do want to go, I want to revisit in 2024. Because I bought loads of polyurethane rubber, I bought epoxy and tints and all these type of things because I was going to do a huge project on it. And then basically, yeah, I've got like 10 projects on the go, and that's kind of taken a back burner. But I do want to get back on that because I have done a little bit of printmaking this year, and I've used the roller and it works flawlessly. Another really big 3D printing upgrade was the changing the i3 Mega to the X carriage. And then it was still a Bowden on the i3 Mega. And I was just sick and tired of, you know, printing with Bowden. Doing retraction on a Bowden set, unless you've got it perfectly calibrated, it always makes a mess for me. And then I switched it over to direct drive. Thankfully, that X carriage, you can easily swap it from direct to Bowden and vice versa. And then I got the Orbiter 2.0 extruder, and yeah, I mentioned that in the previous video. Amazing. That extruder is so good. I'm tempted to buy another Orbiter 2.0 and put it on my Voron. That has been a very good upgrade for i3 Mega. I also put on a flexible metal PIE sheet on the i3 Mega as well, so it's more like the Voron as well. So that has really turned that 3D printer around, because I was thinking of selling it or just getting rid of it and buying a new one, but I've put that in and I've been printing really well with that since then. I got, obviously, because I got the welder, I did do a few welding projects, which were very, very good because I really did need those things. I really did need to get those speakers off of my desk. Put one on a shelf bracket, and I made a little raised desk bracket as well for the other speaker. And also I invested in the Fireball tool, the Mega Square, which made doing, you know, that project so much easier. That is an amazing welding square. I would highly recommend anyone doing welding to pick up one of those. You won't be disappointed. So I got a making of cassette video done, which was good. As usual, it didn't really perform very well, and I'm not surprised because it is such a super niche video. Screen printing your own cassette labels. You know, who in the first place does screen printing for art, and who also does cassette labels? You know, I'm really making this very, very difficult to get in views on this channel. But that is the stuff that I love to do. I really do love making those videos. It was a lot of fun because I got to incorporate many processes, and I discovered a few new processes with that. And actually that's another video to talk about, because that one was a cool discovery that I don't think I've seen anywhere on YouTube. And that was, and it's probably because it's so niche, but it was making my own foiling stamps from using high temperature 3D printed resin with aluminium foil. That was a very, very nice discovery, because that is something I've been looking to do for many years, just to make quick prototypes for lettering. And also another thing I didn't actually do a video on, but this year I did venture into resin 3D printing. I literally bought that resin 3D printer. I got the Elegoo Mars 3 Pro. I bought it literally to do these foiling stamps. That was the only thing I had to really use it for. But I think I'm actually going to be venturing more into resin printing, because I've discovered that it can actually be much quicker compared to FDM printing. If you've got large batches of things, you can just fill up that build volume to the brim and it doesn't change. It's only the height of it which changes the print speed. The print time, sorry. You could have something that big, and if it's that thick, or if it's that big and it's that thick, if it's the same thickness, it's going to take the same amount of time, because you expose the entire bed essentially in one go for each layer. For batches of things, when I do, you know, print a lot of prototypes, when I do print out, you know, a lot of versions of things, I'm tempted to do it on a resin 3D printer. And I kind of wish now that I've seen how quick it can be for some projects, I wish that I bought a bigger bed, because that is, I think near enough the same size or probably a little bit smaller than my Voron, and the Voron is limited in what you can print. Maybe in the next few years I will upgrade. Once I do have like a dedicated 3D printing area, I will probably upgrade to bigger 3D printers to make bigger prototypes and bigger parts. And then the rest of the content for the year was, a lot of it has been obviously laser engraving related, and a lot of that is obviously because brands have reached out to me asking for content, which has been really cool. Oh, and also I built the MFT table downstairs in my utility room, and I've kind of turned that into a mini workshop. And that's part of what I was saying with, I'm really going to change this house to work better for me. And that was the first step. It was, no, it's not a utility room. It really is just like a little mini workshop for me. I'm the only one who uses that space. I should really make it, dedicated to what I need it to be. It's a really cool little room now. I really do like being in there and working because I've got like everything on the wall around me. I've got things on the ceiling. I've got this really cool like MFT table, and it does just make working and doing woodwork and all these little things that I do much more efficient, which is really what I want. So let's talk about the future. What plans do I have for 2024? I think that the biggest thing is obviously going to be completing the shed, trying to get that done, and then obviously the investment that needs to go into what goes inside it. Investing in a milling machine, a lathe, woodworking equipment, all the woodworking machinery that I need as well. I'm budgeting, probably like 10 grand, and that is probably not even going to be scratching the surface with the amount of machinery that I want to get in there. I've modeled a 5x3 floor space, and then I've modeled the rough size of me, and it really did put it into perspective that it's actually not that big, and 5x3 meters, I'll probably be lucky to get maybe a lathe and a milling machine and some storage in there. And I think that will probably be about it. Maybe some woodworking tools on the other wall, but it's going to be cramped in there. I'm kind of thinking it's going to be like this massive workshop. I watch all these YouTubers and they have these like huge barns that they got like all their machinery in there. I'm thinking I'm building this big shed with all this stuff in there. And then when I did actually model it and actually put it to scale of me in there, it was a little bit disappointing because it was like I'm probably not going to be able to fit everything I want in at all. Hopefully I can get some stuff in there, and hopefully I'll be able to explore more processes and work on bigger projects. And then comes the huge amount of projects that come out of having that shed done, with basically redoing this house and making it for how I want this house to be. That is definitely going to be like the biggest project that I'm going to be working on the next few years, I think. Also, I have plans to do more printmaking. I started this channel with the idea of doing like screen printing and getting more into art, and I ventured more into like making. I think that's probably what I do prefer to do, but I do still want to do printmaking and those type of things. And again, it's really around the processes and how efficient it is to do screen printing in here, to do like intaglio and those type of things, do printmaking. It's just a pain in the ass because I don't have the setup for it. And if it's not set up and it's not easy to do, I'm someone that's got so many other projects to do, I'm just going to do what's probably the easiest. So this table behind me, this screen printing table, it's too big. And I've been thinking about a way of turning this screen printing table not just into screen printing. I want to do other printmaking. I want to do a lot of etching and those type of things, lino, wood block and all of that. So I'm thinking, turn this table into something that is like modular, and it's like a multi-print making table. Yes, it has a screen printing vacuum bed on it, but maybe you could lift over something and have like a glass panel so you can do etchings and mix out ink on it and those type of things. So basically I want to like chop this table in half because I only print A3 basically is the biggest I want to print up to with screen printing. And this table is 1.5 meters wide, so it's just complete overkill. It takes up a lot of space. When I originally built this table and when I originally started using this room, that's really what I was doing. I was just doing screen printing and a few other little bits and bobs. This room over time has turned into, a 3D printing farm. It's turned into somewhere that I work on electrical projects. It's turned into now a laser engraving section. And so basically I've got a lot more processes in this room now, and I just don't have the space for something this big, especially for something that I just don't do that often at the moment. I would like to get back into doing more screen printing, but at the moment I'm doing it maybe 2 or 3 times a year whenever I'm doing a cassette. Because I'm someone that can't just create something for no reason, basically. It has to have it has to have like some value to it. Either it's like for creating a video, or it's like got some commercial intent in it. You know, it's something I'm going to hopefully make money from and sell, or it's just something, it's something practical, something functional that I need in this house. And just screen printing a poster, yeah, I mean, what's the use in that, to be honest with you? I don't have much use for it at the moment. So that's definitely going to be a lot of work, because that's going to require some rather accurate woodworking abilities, which I don't have at the moment. I don't have the tools as well to do it, but that will be a cool project, and it's going to obviously help me to just make this space more efficient. Yeah, I would like to upgrade the 3D printers. I would really like a Voron 2.4. I would like a bigger Voron, because I would like to print things that are bigger. And as I said, now that I've kind of, you know, fallen in love with resin printing and seen that what the speed that you can get out of that by doing things in batches, I would like to get a bigger one as well. And also there are a few like cassettes that I've got planned in 2024. So those will be a few more projects that I'm going to be working on. I think that will probably be about it. There's going to be a lot of content, but I think that it's just going to be probably around those main things. That's really what is going to be taking up most of my time in 2024. Shed, DIY, and then, yeah, working on trying to make the space more efficient, you know, making things that will make it more efficient. For New Year's resolutions, I remember in previous videos that I did for recaps, it was like to do daily art and daily music making. Daily art has completely fallen off. I have accepted that I'm never going to do that. And I think that since discovering generative AI techniques, you know, things like Stable Diffusion, DALL-E and all those, it satisfies what I want, which is being able to create artwork not through the actual physical process of doing it, but by maybe just creating systems around things that can generate artwork for me. You know, generative, I did want to make drawing robots and those type of things, and that's what I did in university. I don't think I'm ever going to have the want to be able to like draw something anymore. I mean, it's amazing what you can do with the AI tools. You know, anything you can think of, you can just type it in and you can generate something unique. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. It's something that I've completely given up on, and I'm fine with that. I think daily meditation practice was something I said a few years ago, and I'm happy to say that I still do that I do that Monday to Friday, basically. Weekends I give myself a break. But yeah, that's just become a habit now. I can't eat lunch without doing meditation first. And I still only do like 3 to 5 minutes of breathing, but I've definitely got much better at breathing. I'm definitely much more conscious of what my body does to breathe. Has it made a difference? I'm not sure if it's made that big of a difference. I do find myself not getting angry at things as much. Like last week, for instance, I dropped a glass bacon tray full of chicken that we just cooked. Probably in the past, I probably would have got really annoyed and like smash something extra, or yeah, just maybe like punch something in anger. Now I don't do that anymore. I'm much more calmer. Maybe that's just, yeah, getting older, or maybe part of that is from, you know, doing breathing practice. I like to think that it's doing something, so I'm going to obviously keep on doing that. And music making is hard. I mean, this year I did try to invest in some tools that would help me to do more music. I bought a Norns, and I also bought some launch pads to work with it. But honestly, I just don't have the time to learn music making. It's so hard. This Christmas, I do have an iPad, which I was using just now. And I've been playing around with Logic Pro, I've been playing around with Eurorack apps, and they're all a lot of fun to use, but yeah, I'm just struggling to find the time to put a concerted effort into actually learning it. It is fun, and I think that hardware-wise, that was like my dream, to have like Eurorack and synths and all that, but honestly, I don't think having all that would make me do it more often. I think that's just my gear acquisition syndrome playing up, and yeah, I just want a shiny new toy. I don't think I'll ever make music. I do like making sounds, but I don't think I'll ever have the patience or the skill to turn it into like a full song. Maybe I'll just stick with like DJing. I mean, obviously with Drift Deeper, that's kind of like my bread and butter, and that's enough, maybe. But my New Year's resolutions would be probably to obviously continue with stretching. I think mobility and being able to do like a forward fold, being able to eventually get a handstand, a seated squat. Those are like really big life goals for me. I mean, it's always been living past 100 has been my main life goal, and to be healthy, past 100, and to do a handstand and a seated squat. Though if I can do them, I'll know that I've conquered my life, basically. Keep on working on flexibility every day or every other day, and don't go back to my old ways of, focusing more on like strength. Really, really focus, understand that the mobility side of things, the balance is more important. I think anyway, for longevity, I don't really think deadlifting 200 kilograms is that important for longevity, to be honest with you. I think being strong is, but there are so many different ways you can be strong. And then also the big other thing will be just to be more organized. This room has been an absolute shithole for the last few months while I've been working on all these laser engraving projects. Part of it is obviously me. I don't put things back after I've used them, but also a big part of it is that I get lots of new things all the time. I'm always working on new projects. I've got nowhere to put all this stuff. Like all this laser engraving stuff, it's all been delivered. It's all just sitting on the floor in the corner of my room because I got nowhere to put it. I need to make something to put it and to store it away. And this is really what I want to work on. Whenever I've got free time, just work on trying to make the space around me more efficient. Thinking of what storage solutions, custom storage solutions, so everything has a place to go is really like the big aim for this year as well. Something I haven't actually talked about yet is mental health. I think maybe the reason why I didn't talk about it at the beginning is probably because it wasn't such a big thing this year for me. I didn't have too many issues. Obviously, I know in previous years, post-COVID, coming out of COVID was really, really difficult. Before that, I was doing CBT therapy, and we had to stop the therapy halfway through because of obviously COVID. We was doing in-person therapy, then we was doing phone therapy, and then that kind of got stopped because it wasn't that useful. After COVID, my partner and I, we just basically tried to make sure that we was doing more social things and getting out of the house more, because COVID, I was stuck indoors for God knows how many months, not talking to anyone but Lakshmi, and it was bliss. For someone like me, COVID was bliss. That's going to sound really strange for some people, but coming out of it was very, very difficult. But what I learned is that being honest about how you feel, telling people around you that you do have anxiety and some things are hard for you. It was really only this year or last year that I told my parents. They knew that I got worked up about things, but I don't think they knew to the extent of what my social anxiety was like and the things that I experienced doing some things. Just little things like that, like telling people, telling like Lakshmi's family, for instance, that I struggle to go to restaurants. I struggle to eat in public places because I get really anxious about it. Just being honest about those things, it makes it feel less of a big thing, basically. Because the reason why I think it is this is because you feel like you've got to be normal around people. You feel like you can't show that you're nervous. But what I find is that if people know that you get like that, previously I would be really anxious. I'd be like feeling sick. I'd be feeling nauseous. I'd have really bad stomach. And previously I'd be thinking, oh God, they can't find out that I'm like this. But now that pretty much everyone around me knows that I do have these issues, if I am feeling hot and sweaty, if I do feel like I'm going to be sick, I can just tell them because I know that they already know. I can just say, I don't want to eat anything. I'm feeling a bit sick, or I'm just going to go and sit in the toilet for 5 minutes or whatever. Just like that makes it more easier. That's kind of what I've discovered definitely with mental health. And to be honest with you, I don't know why I've only just discovered it, because I've watched so many podcasts and interviews of people talking about mental health, and you always hear it like, just talk about it, just talking about it, just telling people. But I do think that does make a big difference. So just try to be honest with people if you can. I appreciate how difficult it is to open up about these things. And there are, people that still don't really know, that are, have been friends with me in the past and those type of things. So being more open about it, being more honest about it, but then also just doing more social interactions, even though it isn't the most enjoyable thing. Little things like, picking up a sport like bouldering, been really good for social, because it's not like a gym where you can just put in your earphones and not talk to anyone. In a bouldering gym, you are kind of all sat around the same area looking up at the wall as you're climbing. So it's much more of a social sport, which I still don't really like. I would rather just have my earphones in and not talk to anyone. But I understand that that's bad, and even just going there once a week and talking to people, it is just practice talking to people. So it is a good thing. And then, I think that then trickles into other parts of my life. So like the gym. Previously, I would never speak to anyone in the gym. I've literally gone to the gym since I was like 18, and I've never had conversations with anyone. But I think since understanding that you do need to be social a little bit, small talk, even though you don't like it, it is a skill, and it does make socializing easier once you get better at small talk. From being small talk in the bouldering gym, you find yourself like just making little random conversations with people in the gym a little bit more. So it's definitely been much better this year. And also this year, I think I've gone to 3 restaurants or 4 restaurants with Lakshmi's family, which again would have been something I just wouldn't have done in previous years. But I think, it's because like just being more open with the issue and telling them that, I'll come, but I might be anxious and I might not want to eat. So that's the deal basically. I think that, that's definitely made it easier, and I've been able to tick off a few things. So hopefully just continuing with those little things, those little social interactions. And then also another thing is just kind of like accepting who you are. Like, I think this is just how I am. I think I've always been like this way, and it's fine. There are some things that I like to do that other people don't like to do, and I don't necessarily think those people are broken or wrong. It's kind of like you got to be kind to yourself. You also need to push yourself. You can't just be a hermit. It's a balancing act. That's what I've kind of discovered. Social anxiety just isn't something that you're just going to make disappear overnight. And it could be something that you've always got. You could just be someone that is a more highly sensitive person. I do think I am that. I think I am just much more sensitive. So I always try and tell myself that, would I want to make all of that kind of be gone? There are positive that comes with it, and I wouldn't really want to change myself, to be honest with you. I wouldn't want to, that is part of who I am, and that is part of, I guess, what has led me to what I feel like is a really, really good life. I love my life. Obviously, I don't like having social anxiety, but maybe it's just a necessary evil to everything else that I get to do and get to enjoy in my life. So I think, just maybe changing your mindset, the way you see things as well. Everyone's got their problems as well. Realizing that no one really cares. It's not really that much big of a deal as well. It's pretty much all in your own head, usually most of the time. I feel that this year has been kind of like a little bit of a change in mindset, and I think a lot of that has to come down to also having like an amazing partner, Lakshmi. She supports me in everything I do, and obviously gives me a lot of love and reassurance, which is absolutely amazing. I couldn't ask for anyone better in the world for that. Other things I forgot to mention are obviously Missy the cat. It is a neighbour's cat, but she spends a lot of time with us. She really does like having our company, and we absolutely adore this little cat. And she brings us a lot of joy and a lot of love. So it's really cool. And I think that we've both become much more of like an animal lover from interacting with Missy, the cat, which has been really cool. Family-wise, everyone is healthier and happy as usual, which is really good to say. I think even more healthier. My mum has been on a huge weight loss journey in the last few years, and we've been kind of pushing her to start thinking about, okay, you've lost the weight, now it's time to build on that foundation. Need to start building strength, you start building balance. As you get older, this is kind of my fear, my parents are going to trip and fall over, and having a hip transplant at much past 70, 80, supposedly, the death rate is almost, the mortality rate is almost as bad as some cancers, for instance. So my parents in the last few months have joined a gym, and they go like 3 times a week now, which is absolutely incredible. And also Lakshmi's family, her parents, they come with Lax to the gym numerous times through the week. So that's been a really nice addition this year. Everyone is healthy and happy, which is always good to say. So that is it. That is the 2023 recap. If you've watched this long, then thank you. If you have watched any of my previous videos this year, if you've subscribed or liked or commented or any of that, thank you very much. It's been a great year. I'm very, very excited for 2024. I hope everyone has a very nice Christmas and a new year. Me and Lakshmi are not doing much. We're probably just going to be chilling. I've got a few Drift Deeper shows that I'm going to be doing on Christmas Eve and also New Year, which is going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, the rest of the year, I'm probably just going to be editing this, working on some other laser engraver videos, probably working on my shed as long as it doesn't rain too much. So with that, thank you for watching, and I will catch you all later, probably in 2024.